The god of the Moabites' name is Chemosh. They mean the mighty one. So if you're a Moabite, then under the catch term is Moor. Moor is a catch term. It's a term used to identify people with common physical characteristics. But they also have room for the variation of characteristics, because you can have a black Moor, you can have a Moor, and then you can have a tawny Moor. A tawny Moor is a Khazarian, a yellow half-breed mulatto Moor. A Zionist. They get their instructions from Switzerland. That's the home of all finance on the planet.
That's right.
Right? The most control you can have on the planet is control the purse strings of the entire planet Earth. You are the neutral party in all wars. Go back and find out when their last war was. You're going to find out the last war was with the French.
That's right.
Why is that important? Because the French Revolution was ousting the Moors, the ones they was calling Moors, but they was calling them Berbers at the time.
Mm-hmm.
They wasn't calling them Moors yet. They was calling them Berbers. That means they came from the Ottoman Empire. They barbarians in English.
Mm-hmm.
They from the Barbary, which is east of Rome. Right? So this is how you know they different from the Atlanteans, or the, as they say in the book of Enoch, the people from Tartarus. Because Tartarus is the landmass called South America, and the closest 2 points of South America and Europe or Rome, they intersect at a westerly direction. So they call the Tartarians anything that was Atlantean. But it's because of Tartarus that they recognize the Atlanteans as being Tartarians. Right? They called them the light beings, so they labeled them as Hyperboreans. Right? They say they from the rainbow, as the Hopi prophesied the rainbow children, the different tribes of the original Earth tribes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There was 7 distinct colors of the rainbow made up the Hopi rainbow generation of children.
Mm-hmm.
In the great melting pot, what happened to the rainbow when it's all of the distinct different fractals of light flip back to their regular multifractal capability? The rainbow fades and becomes pure light.
Go ahead.
Right? So all of it is telling you about what's the movement of the people, but they talking in the code. Right? They using what's called Moorish alphabet. Right? They call it Moorish alphabet because they talking about the Greek fraternal orders. All of the Greek societies are not of the Boule, but all of the Boule come out of the Greek fraternities.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The Boule comes from the French Boule. Here go France, going back towards Switzerland again. Right? And the black Boule is the Boule extracted from the people and put on the FBI snitch program, confidential informant payroll.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We call them sellouts. We know they there. And sometimes we even know exactly which ones they are, Jesse Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Al Sharpton.
Mm-hmm.
Al Sharpton is a puppet for the church.
Mm-hmm.
The church came here in forcing the religion down the throat of the indigenous people. And to prove you that they will even change the doctrine to capture the mind of the people, Look up the Lenape Bible, because in the rewrite of the old Bible, they went from the Romans and the Jews killed Jesus to the Lenape killed Jesus. Ray Hagen's got a whole lecture on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So when we putting all of the pieces together, you got to know where to look for the piece. Just because somebody don't look the part and don't talk the part, don't mean they wasn't playing the part.
Mm-hmm.
So the Boule society over here is made up of the ones who defected to the other side but remained in our community. That's still Boule society, taking on the prominent positions in order to usurp the rightful chiefs. But remember, we wasn't allowed in politics for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But 60% of the presidents was mixed.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell you Obama your first black president. Why they call him a black president? Because he's already dead. What you mean, right? He's a clone. Akhenaten died in the 18th dynasty. Shortly thereafter, he defected. So when you clone a dead man, he's black, he's dead. But he walking around like he living. That's a resurrection story for your ass.
Somebody
boys in Brazil wasn't cloning Hitler.
Go ahead.
That's why he sent Mussolini to go get the recently discovered body of Akhenaten. Right? And it was actually a trade-off using intelligence networks of the CIA. And back then it was, I think it was called the Kirkengrad, which was equivalent to the enforcement arm of the government. That's not the military spy network. Mm-hmm. And they passed off the tomb. They found it in the Grand Canyon, the same place they found King Tut tomb, but they made the trade in Cairo, Egypt, so we can think that King Tut tomb was found in Cairo, Egypt, or at the Great Pyramid Complex, but it wasn't. It was found over here.
That's facts.
The same with Akhenaten tomb. Akhenaten tomb was found when they excavated Arizona, the Grand Canyon temple sites. The original temple of Isis is in the Grand Canyon that's older than all of the pyramids on the planet.
That's right.
Right. Also, the Temple of Osiris, the oldest Temple of Osiris, is in the Grand Canyon. That go back to this is actually the womb of the earth. This is where all of the earthborn is birthed from. This is where the diversity of the genetics is traced back to the old blood. That's why it's significant to know the blood and the right. Because then when you start tracing back through what happened and who done it, and then you look at their practices and their cultural practices, right? Kelly Love sent me a Candace Owens video that yesterday, I think it was, where she was going into how they was using this particular families was using apostasy to infiltrate and institute the blood rights of that family. Right? So when you realize what they doing, you can see the story using history as the lens. That's why they say in order to go forward, you got to first look back. You got to know where you came from, and that's going to tell you how to get where you're going. Because where you already been is a mirror map to your return back home. Right? So when you went up the Trail of Tears, you symbolically returned back down the Trail of Tears. Now you following the tracks of my tears, tears of a clown, when no one's around. Right? Now you understand the Hyoka message comes from the Hyoka High Priest, Smokey Robinson. It's a Motown connection to an old Mississippi Delta, a Delta Blue. right? A Delta Blue is both a military code and a sorority code, right? Oprah defected. That's why she wasn't at Obama's party. You got to go back and look. They made it clear to the public that Oprah's seat at Obama's party was empty. Why? Why is that important? She didn't show up. Being who Obama is, Akhenaten, the old water cow, right? It might sound like I'm making fun of her, but I ain't. The old water cow had Heru, Eris, on the Blue House, would miss it for the world unless her dirt caught up with her. If you go back to the Book of Ruth, it tells you that she decided to go the other way and leave Ruth and Naomi to their own devices. She abandoned her sisters on the Three Sisters flip in order to do her own thing. And she went and cuddled up with the devil himself.
I like how you be. I like your your perspective on how you tell the story, Rob. Hey, somebody got a quick question, man. They dropped a shout out Amari Bay for the super chat. He says, could you Rod, could you go in on the tribes in the Caribbeans, the Puerto Ricans, and Dominican tribes, if you have anything on that?
Listen. So now when he's talking about Dominican, Puerto Rico, he can't leave out Haiti and Jamaica.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those islands, okay, on the mainland, we can only grow certain crops. So we got our delicacies was the stuff that's natural to those islands. The tobacco tastes different. The coffee tastes different. The beets, the sugar beets taste different, which gives a sweeter sugar than the sugar on the mainland. It's two different sugars. This variety of fruits and vegetables that grow on those islands, they don't grow on the mainland. And they got a culture developed around the original tribes, Arawak, Boricua, Haiti. All these is indigenous peoples. Now, they got a term for it. I forgot what it's called in Spanish, but it being the whitening of the skin. Because of the one drop doctrine and the preferential treatment given to the pale skinned people being put to the top of the class, everybody is gonna aspire to be part of the top class. So they tell you it ain't no racism, but it's colorism.
Go ahead.
But it's still the same caste system of divide and conquer. But it's not given to them like it's given to us. It's antagonistically given to us here, right? But it's preferential treatment that makes them want to be lighter down there. But these cultures are warriors. But if you go look at Puerto Rico, got cannons on every corner. Puerto Rico was a rebellious people to the colonizers, right? Everybody fought to liberate slavery. So they changed the word slavery and made us all employees and gave us a job so we could suffer like Job. But anyway, when we go back and we see the history of warfare and rebellion in the islands, those islands always come up. Those tribes always come up. They are a condensed version of the mainland tribes. They fuses in combat is not as long as ours. They more quick to take action.
Yeah.
Right now, it's the Spanish influence and the usurping of the language of the Arawak and Boricua peoples that make them teaches them that they not tribes from the Americas. right? They subtly infer it, and it come across to the people from the mainland as some of them being racist, but they not being racist. They being colorist. Racism is a different dynamic that's played out through socioeconomic leverages and hostile antagonism at the same time, where colorism plays on a more subtler influence, right? Even Mexico, Belize is just south of Mexico. Them people always been there, and they darker than the African.
Yeah, I've been down there. I've seen them.
Right, and I've interacted with the people from Belize. My Aunt Helen used to run with them in Chicago.
They
She
look like
controlled. My Belizean friends coming over tonight. I want to get us a little nip for the hip. Won't you go buy us a drink? Okay, Helen. And then I end up being introduced to the culture of the Jamaicans. You know, and it's still the same tribal culture that's over here, but it's expressed with a different food stock from the different flora and fauna of the local environment. But they understanding of Big Mama is the same as ours.
Right.
In Dominica, Puerto Rico, and Mexico, how do you know Big Mama? She got a chancla. She the one with the chancla. She will bang you upside your head with that sucker too. Right? Because they what they call slipper clans. They honor and mark ceremony with slippers. You have them on the mainland too. When they give you high honors, they give you a pair of slippers. Then you got blanket tribes. Because of the temperate climate, it's not a lot of blanket tribes in the Caribbean. They more slipper tribes. And that's why the chancla is what wages the weight. It's the same with the Samoans and the Tongans and the Hawaiians. Big Mama pull off that slipper, you know what time it is. It's a cultural phenomenon that's weaved through all of the indigenous people of the earth.
Right.
Right? When you see usurpers, you see mean men abuse women with limited self-control. That's when the patriarchy has the influence over the matriarchy. You find mean men mistreat women for lack of self-control. Right? And the understanding of the relationship is being taught to us through the dynamic of slave lenses anyway, where if you with somebody, you own them now, that's your personal property.
Yeah.
Right? That's the patriarchal dynamic, because that's to interfere with people creating dynastic family units that's powerful and intelligent. Look, I got some homeboys, last name Adams, I won't go into their first names, but they got an uncle that sat them down and told them how to take care of business. And I watched these dudes go from lower middle class, you know, parents working in the factory, and come all the way up on the hustle game to become millionaires because they know how to stay out of the way of the system, because they was taught certain rules of street etiquette that would keep them out of harm's way. And then the other uncles, like Butch Jones in Detroit, he wasn't that kind of uncle. He was the uncle that just only cared about himself, and his nephews was a means to an end.
Man.
Right? So he get the whole YBI. He ruined all them boys' lives for greed. Instead of giving them the rightful game, he could have kept more of them functional in the community. Right? But he was misleading them on purpose. He knew what he was doing. That's why I don't like him. I ain't never met him. But I watched the story from friends of mine who lived the lifestyle that he manufactured. And it gave me a bitter taste in my mouth about him. Right. So we see stuff. Now, if I sat down and have a conversation with him, it's possible my whole perception could change. Because he ain't never told me his story. I only know the story of the ones that suffered under his guidance and direction. The guys that I got to sit down and talk to, the Kurt McGurks, right? He never blamed Bush for nothing. He don't give him no negative press whatsoever, right? And the negative press that was put on Kurt, he may or may not have deserved it. But when I sat down and had a conversation with him and Adrian back in 2000, he told me his story. I understood his perspective and I felt his pain. Glad to see the brother home, right? So when you see these people that's being leaders, you're going to have the ones that's going to try to give you something positive to build on, like my homeboy and his uncle did, or you're going to run into the ones that's selfish and only care about chasing the dollar. They don't care about the collateral damage, as it's called, of the children whose lives they interrupt before they ever realize who they are and what they're capable of doing. I don't got no respect for that. Right? Larry and Jeff, they paid for so many kids to go to college, but we don't talk about that. Right. From prison. Larry is instructing the guys that's out in the streets to make sure the ones going to school don't get harassed and putting them on assignment to hold that down. Because he said everybody can't be in the street. We got to protect the ones that's going to read the books because we need to get out of this gangbanging and get into this brain banging. Or we ain't going to never come up from this condition. Because gangbanging is just establishing your tribal ranking systems. But brain banging is breaking all of the tribes free so we can have a different way to resolve our issues that make more sense than just slaughtering babies in the street. I might have got off the topic of the original question, but go on with the next one, Al.
All right. Hey, we're going to take questions from the crowd. We got about 30 minutes left. Y'all drop your comment in the chat. Drop your questions in the chat for Chief Roy Hayes, and we'll take them right quick. We got about 30 minutes left, y'all. 30 mics out. We're about 30 mics out. Yeah, I got one for you, though, Rod. So, do you think if we went back to our original, because we wearing European clothes, more European dress. We don't wear our original clothes. And then when I got
most of the stuff we wear today was invented over here.
Okay, go ahead.
We've been wearing denim. That's ancient tribal stuff.
Okay.
The way you see the nightlife dress, that's New Orleans right now. That's where that's from.
Go ahead.
When you look at what the European was wearing when they came over versus what they was producing in New Orleans, as they say, the culture, the Dapper Dan dress style, that's New Orleans. That's the big N.O. That's the Big Easy. It get the credit for those because that was our fashion capital of the land. A lot of the stuff that we thinking is European and African, not. Like they telling us the dashiki from Africa, and I'm dying laughing because we've been wearing them in Mesoamerica for thousands of years. They all through the paintings. And they've been telling us be black and proud and wear this dashiki. That's what you call a cultural crossing. Then that's a point where you need to go do a different research. Because they telling you that the culture is coming from somewhere else, but you got lifetimes of remembering in that hot southwestern sun wearing dashikis. Mm-hmm. It's the same as the sundress. European women didn't wear sundresses with the single strap or with the no strap. And that was all created down in the South.
Yeah, I can say I
The,
can believe it.
the sundresses, what all of the women was wearing, and that lived out in the woods because it was too hot, but they didn't want to walk around naked in front of the children.
Mm-hmm.
So they just throw this thing that became the sundress. They just wrap it around them, pin it in the front, going out about their business, commando underneath.
So you don't think that different cultures came in and brought their own, like we got a mixed culture of dress?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
we got
So
Irish.
the European influence is mostly on footwear.
Go ahead.
When you're looking at the type, we wore moccasins, and we had a different style of hold on one second, L.
Wait. Hey y'all, peace and love. We got 1,400 people in the building. If you want to show Raw Hayes some love on the Cash App, we dropping the Cash App in the links right now, y'all. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, y'all. We going in. This is the melting pot, man. We've been talking about the melting pot and how everybody came, different tribes came to America to mix in and get the one drop of blood. And just the different cultures. It's like so many different cultures blending in over here. And I noticed, Rod, there are a lot of people around the world. All the cultures is like they imitate the American culture. Even it's based on the time frames. Like right now, the whole world is trying to be like American Nubians, and every time
Everything comes from here, Elder.
Yeah, go ahead.
Everything comes from here.
Go ahead.
Right. The Japanese don't got no problem with us.
No.
The Chinese don't got no problem with us, because especially,
Yeah.
outside of America, we looked at as high value people.
Right.
In America, because we fighting this war, we have no value.
Damn.
We're not supposed to be part of the society because we fight no particular type of war. So when we force ourselves into the society, all of the foreigners come over here wondering why we allow these people to keep us at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And that people that bring them over here, and they only bring certain ones, they socially program them before they ever get here. And the social programming is to keep them from getting between the righteous more and the dirty more.
Mm.
Stay out them folks' business. Let them fight it out. Let them see if they can find out that what side of the ocean they from. It's right in the George Washington Challenge, Elder.
I'm walking my children. Go ahead.
Yeah. So once you know who fighting, you understand why foreign people stay out of the mix. They don't really want to be racist, but the culture over here that they coming into is racist, and their survival depend on them following the culture. Right? They tell them how to exploit us, and their survival is predicated upon them listening to the people who's holding the pseudo power and following what they told them. So they set up shop in our community. But when they told them we were such bad people, they didn't tell them that they was killing off our leaders so that we couldn't control our community so that they would have a place for their store to be. That wasn't part of the conversation. Right? Yeah, I'm looking in the comments in case a question pop up. But yeah, we the natural warriors. They use us to fight us because they can't beat us. Only we can beat us. Let that sink in. They use us to fight us because they can't beat us. Only we can beat us. So they recruit us to fight against us.
Right. If you look at it, it's mostly they always recruit the young generation, man. Like the youngsters, they go after each other, and they keep like a part of me like young boy, but a part of me say because he heard and it's because he's one thing that he said. he said in an interview they asked him about him working for the dark side and him promoting what he promoted, and he said something that made me say that he aware that he being used, but he trapped in it. So what's your thing on that, Rod? On the artists, they say they took a deal, sold a soul, or this to do this, promote this type of agenda, for the dirty hand. What's your take on that? The people that say they sold a soul, or they can't do nothing about it. They already in too deep. Ain't no turning back. Go ahead.
That's the biggest crock of BS I ever heard. You cannot sell your soul. You can't sell your soul. That's like trying to sell somebody out of space. If they fool enough to buy it, sell it. But you can't sell your soul. That's the first thing. But what you can sell is your soul's expression in this 3D reality. Right? You can sell your services in this 3D reality. You can sell access to your skills in this 3D reality. The only thing they can do to compromise you is contract you to what you can and cannot do. But the contracts have to have a time limit. There's no such thing as an infinite contract, right? The contract can be challenged at any time by either party in the contract, right? But when you find out that somebody got a contract in your name that you didn't sign, like child support, right? I never signed no contract that if I have a child, I'm supposed to pay. That's not in the Constitution. Where you get that from? Right? That's called arbitrary action. An arbitrary action means you took it up on yourself to do this because you felt like it. Right? You can't sell your soul, but you can sell your soul's expression, and you can surrender that expression to the people you sell the control to. They get to tell you how you behave if you want to maintain this, what you asked for. You never knew that if you maintained your own control and used your talents for yourself, that you still can have that same lifestyle, but you won't be compromised, and you'll probably have a higher echelon lifestyle because you're not controlled no more. You on mute, Elder.
Hey, Sophia asks, shout out Sophia. Sophia asks, why do they kill off the firstborn?
It's the first heir.
Okay.
Okay. It's called I think we did a show on this. It's called the sacrifice of first blood.
Yeah, we did, yeah. The blood.
Right.
Blood secrecy.
Blood. Yeah, sacrifice of first blood. The first blood, the first child is the first blood of the mother's womb. Right? And the purpose of killing the firstborn is you killing the first heir. The first person with what we call the right to the throne. Right? Now, the story go back to the Moses story, which is the Akhenaten story, right? Of the Exodus and the plagues, where he said, I killed the firstborn. In the royal families, right? When they wage war, they don't always openly fight with their people. Sometimes they use espionage and assassination, right, in order to maintain their power structure. This is how Caligula ended up being repeatedly raped by his uncle, who was trying to make him unfit to rule. right? And because he was unfit to rule, all his dirt came out in the open. Caligula and his uncle. What'd he do? Soon as he got power, he raped his uncle back. Right? That's tyranny. It's hereditary. Okay, so now the first blood is a sacrifice in mysticism and religion. The sacrifice of the first blood is talking about the blood of the innocent. And there's also the power position of a potential first heir. That power position being usurped when the first child dies, it had to go to a next of kin, another child. But the right now is no longer determined by first in line, first in time. Now it's governed by who's most qualified to fill the position, and then it changes the way that you can ascend to the throne. Right? Only the most ambitious is going to do what's required to ascend to the position. And the ambitious one is the one that don't mind putting in the work in order to be qualified to perform the task that he's out to do. So he live his life developing his skills to be the best whatever that he can be. If you got a higher calling, you learn to be a whole lot of things in the course of unraveling who you are. Because the things that you develop as an external skill becomes a mirror from which you to see an innate ability. Right? And so it's all part of ascension, ascending, waking from the slumber, getting back on the right path.
Somebody asked, shout out Jedi. I don't understand the question, but I guess he's saying, what's up with the birthright move? The birthrights move.
We're talking about the Senate, the Supreme Court ruling on birthright citizenship. That's going back to, so that's going back to like Dawes role and the fallacy of slavery being exposed through the revocation of the birthright citizenship. Because actually what really birthright citizenship is all of the outlaw children that wasn't part of the treaty clans, right? They automatically was giving them citizenship to enslave them without their knowledge. That's all that was.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
By getting rid of the birthright citizenship, it allows or frees up the outlaw tribes to acknowledge self, to be self, recognize yourself, recognize your kindred, recognize who you is from the original people of the land. They can't tell you we foreigners, but they can tell you we bad, and they can attack us in the name of something called good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? All the time, they don't even belong here, and all this bad that they using as justification for them to enforce their good wouldn't even be here if the bad guy wasn't playing good cop, bad cop with us.
Yeah. Somebody asked, Squid, I think his name is, can you explain the last name White and its origin?
Yeah,
go ahead.
That goes back to the White Rose and the Masonic Lodge. Blue House, White Rose, the White family. Right? The Browns tie back to Cleveland. Football team is used to tag the location where the Brown family's longest ancestry stood. So they gave them a sports team and called them the Cleveland Browns, right? But when you're talking about the whites, you got to also remember in Spanish, they blanco, jefe blanco, blanco grande, right?
Mm-hmm.
What they're talking about is the boss hog in the white suit, right? He always come in the white suit, jefe blanco, right? That was a status symbol in the culture of people that don't wear suits. But if you go back to the Confederacy, what they told you was gray coats was actually white coats. But the white coats became gray in the time of war through soiling. Couldn't keep it white.
Yeah.
So when you see it in the black and white picture, it looked great.
Yeah.
Dingy white.
Yeah, it makes sense.
From fighting in the war.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Right. And so all of this tie back into the movement of the people on the land. Right. The names came from a ranking system. Right. The Red family. Right. Sometimes they call it the Reed family. The Reed family or the Red family, they tie back to Red Sox, right? What's that? Baltimore?
Yeah, Baltimore Red Sox.
Yeah. So the Red Sox, SOCKS. So the Red Sox is there to tell you something. Why is the Sox red? For walking through the blood. This family had to walk through the blood, and they came out of the Boston region, and now we talking New England states.
Christmas
States that was governed by New England, right? So first, they had the bloodbath, right? And the bloodbath spilled over on the land. And the first to walk through the bloodbath was the ones called the Reds, the Red Sox. Right? They used the sports team to mark the area where the most prominent clan was from and made the clan out to be the mascot.
Yeah, hey Rod, you ain't lying about this because Doc talk about some of that in the like the Heisman Trophy and the Oscar Trophy. All these trophies they got, they come from certain things that we already had.
Yeah, that guy on the Heisman, that's Paul Robeson.
Go ahead.
We forget that because he was a theater man, that he was also a superstar, multifaceted athlete. He know before Bo was know.
Yeah.
Right. He was a football star, a baseball star, and it was something else. So another sport he played probably was track and field or something. But he was a major athlete in college in 3 different sports. He was also the captain of the theater team, right? The poetry team. He was the top person, regardless of skin color, no matter what field of study he went into.
Dang, that's deep. I had to go do some search on
right.
Dude.
The Heisman Trophy not named after him, but the man on the statue is
him.
patterned after him.
Yeah.
Right. So brother. It's the same with the Oscar. It was a brother that the Oscar is named after.
Yeah.
But we didn't know that you get the Oscar for being the having assimilated the artistic expression in your one drop. That's what that was about.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's some deep.
You already gonna win if you look like us. We don't want you in it. Don't got nothing to do with you. So they barred us from it.
Makes sense.
Right? They barred us from it, not because we didn't deserve it, because we wasn't supposed to be part of the contest.
Yeah.
We got more than a drop of blood. We got gallons of that shit. Yeah. we have an unfair advantage. Right? We Mike Tyson on steroids. And they are old Roy Jones.
Yeah.
Come on, man. They don't stand a chance. We are prime Mike Tyson on steroids against an aged Roy Jones. Better yet, an old Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yeah.
Right. We have an unfair advantage in size, strength, and the ability to use the expression of the soul to excel in anything we apply intelligence, strength, and know-how to.
That's facts.
We not the ones that need to assimilate one drop of blood. Therefore, we don't need the stage. It's not our show. That's what the whole struggle was about, keeping us out of the show because it wasn't our show.
Mm.
Why y'all keep trying to get in these other folks' business under their own vine and fig tree? Make your own lane. So we made our own lane. But we got to do something different because y'all can't use our access. We trying to do something here. This will explain to you why you see odd associations, but when you understand Masonic ties, they talk that divided shit in the public, but they ain't divided in the smoke-filled rooms, as Farrakhan called it.
No.
Why? Yeah, they know how no differences. They the same.
They all God.
They don't see no skin color. They don't see no height. They don't see no weight. All they see is effectiveness. But we out here because they being effective, feeling like victims. Because we don't want to grow. Mm-hmm. So they put us between a stressor and a buffer, severity and mercy, Joaquin and Boaz. And they use that to whoop the people from pillar to post until they wake their ass up. And so I come and explain it. So when you see it, you can't unsee it. When you hear it, you can't unheard it. You understand?
Right.
So, yeah. Hey, look.
Hey, what's that?
You know, from ADX, right?
Uh-huh.
I got to put this in the public domain because it was in the Chicago Tribune.
Okay.
So if y'all want to know more about the story than what I'm going to tell you, it's a Larry Hoover story in the Chicago Tribune. It's about 3 days old now. They reported that somebody had sent a letter from ADX as if it was him. Mm-hmm. Right. But they said they know it wasn't him because he wasn't in ADX when the letter got placed in the mail. Right. Now, they said that the letter was on a letterhead of stationery from a Masonic lodge that Larry Hoover didn't have access to, being in prison for 60 years, 50 years.
Yeah.
Right. And they said that the symbols on it was Masonic in nature. This is in the article. Right. Now, as you scroll down further in the article, the reason why I'm bringing this up, because the next part is exactly what I said that they need to do. It tell you exactly, almost word for word, that they had to apply to the parole board with special circumstances, but they didn't say it that way. They was explaining how Larry had to petition the parole board, right, in order to reach out to the governor. The governor gave the parole board power to parole. They don't need his permission to issue a parole.
Right.
But if he want to seek a pardon, he still have to go through the parole board. Right? That forces him to do exactly what I said he have to do. Right? Yeah. Nobody didn't know that Larry Hoover never killed nobody and he was in there on a murder case. Nobody hardly know that he never told nobody to kill nobody and he in there on the murder case. Right? So he in there on the murder case and he didn't tell nobody to kill nobody and he didn't kill nobody. And they gave him 200 years for murder.
Right?
Make it make sense. They used the law that said his person was so influential that he didn't have to give the order and somebody would do it for him. And therefore, they said he guilty of murder.
These people were.
All of this is documented. It's not made up.
I mean, we don't like you. We need something to take him down. Let's just say he did it.
Yeah.
With this.
So they charged him with murder for never giving the order to get somebody killed that he didn't even kill. And because the person got killed, he should have gave the order, but since he didn't get the order, we gonna act like he gave the order and proceed as if he actually gave the order when he gave no orders at all.
These people, man.
That's retarded to me.
Yeah.
So when you read the article, it's critical for y'all to read it because that's the receipt. Now I be telling people, they be saying when I don't put the receipt on the screen, I don't got no receipts. I'm telling you where to look for the information. It's gonna tell you exactly what he got to do. Petition the parole board. That's if he want a pardon. The only thing that his legal team need to know now is don't ask for a pardon. Ask for a special parole. He's eligible for special parole.
Right.
If he asks for a pardon, he gonna become a political ping pong ball for Trump and the governor. Right? So the letter is the fraudulent letter, but it got all of the right answers in it. But they know he couldn't have did it, so they can't hold it against him. And they don't even know where the stationery came from. Because all of the stationery sold there is just legal pads. They don't sell specialized stationery, and you can't order it and not at AdMax. Maybe if you was in a state prison or federal prison that was less secure, but in there you would not be able to order it. You can barely get letters from your family.
Please.
Right?
You know letters. You get to read them through a screen.
Yeah. You know, but they got to give them stationery to write. But they don't give out Masonic stationery in federal prison commissary. That's not going to happen. But all of the right instructions is in there. Remember that.
Sound like some York rights, Scottish rights, or something going on back end of it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Whoever wrote the letter knew it was going to get put in the public domain. Once it was put in the public domain, they knew that one of the chiefs was going to reiterate it in the public domain to let them know that the chief got the message. Whoever wrote the letter, because we know it wasn't Larry, because Larry wasn't there.
So they get the Blue House?
It don't matter. The whole thing was whoever wrote it. And I'm saying this for the tribes to see it. I know what I'm talking about, in that we have ways of communicating beyond what's common. The only way that it's actionable to the tribes is it got to be put in the public domain by a competent chief. That's not a bond servant. So whoever sent the letter knew it would make news. And they knew that if it make news, that pushes it into the public domain. Now, the only thing that one of the tribe members got to do is point out the Masonic connection to the letter and point out that the message was heard about the process based on the already established structure and process of how to solicit the governor for a pardon. Going back to what I already said, which shows that I already put it in the public domain.
That's right.
So I'm getting my answer back in the public domain. Now, somebody could have just wrote the article and paid for it to be there and it not even be true just to get the message in the public domain.
But we got it.
Right? So once we reiterate the instructions on the proper procedure for Larry to be released and what his lawyer need to do, and we put it in the public domain, all we got to do is let them follow the process. So they use the commutation sent from President Trump as the compelling cause for special parole, right? And now they have a valid reason to preempt upcoming parole hearing or have his parole hearing that we scheduled for maybe in a couple of years move to immediate consideration based on the change in the circumstances surrounding the case.
Right.
Right. It's legal maneuvering, following the smartest path based on the structure they already have established. Because the president gave him the commutation, thus are competent grounds to request relief from the parole board, who have jurisdictional authority if you petition for a special parole due to new circumstances. Right? So it's like a dude that have exhausted all his pills, they find out he innocent and then they release him. Right? When they release him, they might not want to retrain because they know he innocent, but they don't want him to sue him, so they'll give him a special parole to let him out early. Larry ain't gonna sue him. Ask for the special consideration.
Go ahead.
Right? And the president is the commander-in-chief of the whole country. That's a good enough reason for the parole board. That's the greatest character letter you could ever ask for. Presidential request. And if he signed the pardon, when it's time to see the parole board, he will send a letter on behalf of the freedom of Larry Hoover, or else he wouldn't have commuted his sentence.
Right.
So now the lawyers know that he's watching. All they got to do is, while they asking for special consideration, ask for a letter of recommendation to the parole board for special consideration due to the circumstances surrounding his commutation of sentence. Right? That way you don't have to bring up that he was put in there under the COINTELPRO Act.
Right.
We know it, but if this is already an established process that we could exploit to expedite the situation by following the proper steps. Right? So you just ask for a reference letter from the president to the parole board. What CEO not going to take into consideration what the president of the United States say?
Right.
So what they board members going to do? If the CEO going to take consideration, what the board members going to? Most likely they going to follow pattern.
Right.
Right. And if they want to make their CEO look good, the board member will follow through with what the president said so that they can make their CEO look like he was really competent when he was a befuddling idiot the whole time. But because they know that'll increase the stock value of their company, right? The board will do it without the permission of the CEO because they have jurisdictional authority in the corporation to execute the function. And the reference from the president gonna make the CEO look good because it's gonna increase the publicity is gonna increase the stock value.
Right. Everybody, it works for everybody. Everybody is happy at the end of this.
Right. And then the gratitude of the community to the president for sending the recognition might get him another position on the other side of the fall of America as somebody important making decisions and negotiating on behalf of the people.
Now that's a way to brown nose right there, ain't it? That's a good way to brown nose.
You know, it just makes sense. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Remember,
hey, that's how
your ally is your ally because y'all have a common interest or a common enemy. And y'all come together to accomplish the goal in success. It don't mean that once success is acquired that your ally is still your friend. He might never been your friend. Because your ally is looking out for his self-interest and your self-interest equally matched for the maximum amount of gain. Right? So if our self-interest match, we make an alliance and become allies, but we don't gotta like each other and we don't gotta be friends.
Right.
But once the common goal has been accomplished, we might turn into bitter enemies because the next goal might not be a common goal. You understand what I'm saying? So your ally might be offended when you originally was going after their gold, but now you're going after the oil. Oh no, can't have both of them.
Right.
Right. So when the common interest is no longer in common, allies could just become as easily friend as foe. Military strategy. If you don't understand the hierarchy and the ranking system in the military, then you don't know how to strategize. You can't be a toy soldier. You got to be a whole general in this game.
Right.
You can't command the troops not knowing what to do, because they're not going to follow no incoherent orders. Because if the orders are incoherent, they don't know what to do anyway. But soon as the order is coherent and it makes sense, and then the why is explained to them, and you take the exploitation value out of it, where nobody's being done wrong, you give extra vigor and enthusiasm in the soldier to execute the order. Right? And sometimes you have to force the soldier to execute the order in order for the soldier to feel a sense of accomplishment at meeting the goal on their own. That's called trusting them with what you told them to do and get out their way. Right? All this is understanding how to move the troops. Right? It's also culturally embedded in the chiefdoms as we develop into a chief. What kind of chief are we developing in? You got a peace chief, a war chief, you got a scout chief. What kind of chief is you going to evolve in?
Right.
You know? So as you evolve, you study the other chiefs and you look for what none of them is studying to become, and that's what your assignment is. Soon as you realize ain't none of the other chiefs trying to figure this part out right here, that's your part to figure out. Once you get it figured out, you put it in the public so the rest of the chiefs can have access to the information, because it might be able to help them solve the part that they working on. Each one teach one. We all gonna reach something.
Right. Hey, shout out Brother Love, man. OG Brother Love, man. Hey, everybody get up out of here, bro. Hey, we hit the 2-hour mark. Another one. After the in the famous words of DJ Khaled, another one. Right? We always dropping them bangers, y'all. Hey, hit that like, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. If you want to show Brother Raw Hayes some love, like I said, we got the Cash App on the thing. I think the Cash App back working now. If you've seen your back, send it to the PayPal. If you can send it to the PayPal. We got about 1,500 people on. Everybody send them $5. If you don't want to send them $5, send them $1. That'll put them in the game, right? And we gonna keep this thing going, and because this is what we doing, man. We just trying to finish it up, man. It's just have everybody to where they totally woke on. All we need is mass awareness to win this thing. We don't need to physically fight them. We don't got to set up no camp and none of that. All we got to do is get mass awareness, and it's game over. I'm telling you.
Look, you can see the change in the algorithm over the last few years too, because the whole content of social media now is either about us being the original people or somebody trying to dispute us being the original people.
That's right.
That's the main social media collaboration that's taking place right now.
Right.
So it's going to eventually compel enough of us to investigate to realize who's the truth and who's the falsehood.
That's right.
No, but you always say when the truth from the matter foot, falsehood flee.
Let's go. That's right.
And Rod said when falsehood flee, that's when we throw a rock and bust him upside the back of his head as he get the F on.
Make sure you hit him dead in the back of his head. Make sure you hold one eye open when you throwing that mug. He said, make sure you aiming. You know what I'm saying? Like you got then lean, cop back with it. Cop back and open the one eye.
So remember, Trump appointed a pardon czar too. And I'm pretty sure that Larry's lawyer could talk to her, and she might even come down and say something on Larry's behalf. Because she's the one who recommended his pardon. Once the floodgate open, it's open. That's all I can say. Once the floodgate open, ain't no closing it.
Yeah.
We just trying to get it open. We need the old man home. Right? Blue House. Rolling on Trues and Vogues, box Chevy. It's a caddy in the mix. It's a penalty of leadership. A big 50 flip on a gorilla house, gorilla knot, on the post. Pounding on my chest, pounding on the concrete. They can say what they want to say, but we won't be beat. If it's a game of intellect, then I'll intellectually entertain thee. In order for you to see what I see and break us all free.
Go ahead.
You understand? So once the floodgate is open, it's open.
It's already
if we can do it for one, the rest of them walk behind shortly thereafter. One way or the other.
Hey, it's already open. It's already, we already down here. Ain't no going back up here. We already down here now, baby.
And the immortal words of NEGPIFOR 2, baby, we all gas, no brakes.
Hey, ain't no turning
Full
back.
speed ahead, balls to the wall, no retreat, no surrender. Never give up, never give in. Full throttle ahead, run their ass over like an 18-wheeler.
Man.